So, can a sexless marriage be happy? And the answer really is it depends. So, first of all, if two people both don't want to be having sex, you can be happy. No problem. That is not something to solve. If you are happily sexless, I got no problem with that, and neither do you. So don't listen to what everybody thinks you should be doing or what other people are doing. If both of you are actually happy, you can thrive as a couple. It gets more complicated when one of you wants to be having sex and the other doesn't, or is avoiding it, or is having some sort of struggle. This gets complicated. So first we got to think about why is it that your marriage or your relationship has become sexless. And it is probably because, well, two different things. One, it could be that your relationship is in a bad enough state that somebody doesn't want to have sex with their partner. Sex is sort of not appropriate. It doesn't fit. Like, why would I want to do this when we're fighting all the time or having huge conflict, or there's contempt or name calling or alcohol abuse or something like that? So those cases, you've really got to get some help and work on your relationship so sex could potentially fit in it. So let's set those aside for a minute and talk about the cases that I think are more complex, but also more hopeful, which is where your relationship is basically good, and yet sex is not happening, or at least it's not happening very often. I see this all the time in my sex therapy practice and in my online course. Otherwise happy couples, and they could be baffled. Why aren't we having sex when everything else is good? We love each other. There's friendship. There's goodwill. We do so much else well together. We parent well. Our friends think we're the perfect couple. They have no idea that we haven't had sex in years, potentially. And you can feel alone in this, like something must be really, really wrong. But what you're probably struggling with is the sexual avoidance cycle. When things are making sex tricky, changes in libido, sexual dysfunction, changes from menopause, pain with sex, just differences, taking the differences in libido personally, and it gets more and more stressful. All this kind of stuff starts to associate sex with negativity. And then it's human nature to start to avoid it because we don't want to run into those things that make us feel bad. And so that avoidance builds and builds and can go years and years. And this is how people can end up in a sexless marriage, because something is causing, or some pile of things is causing sex to be difficult, and it's driving this avoidance cycle. So before you give up on your sexless relationship, it's really worth entertaining and exploring and talking about what could be making sex hard. Why would it make sense that someone might be avoiding sex? What struggles could they be having with sexual performance or sexual desire that we could actually address? Right? So I'm always encouraging people and working with people to exhaust every option first to see if sex can become part of your relationship again. In fact, I had somebody in my online course in Intimacy with Ease. He came into the program, and he and his wife had been married 30 years or so. They hadn't had sex in 5 years and never talked about it. So in starting to look at what was going on and what was getting in the way and what they could do about that, and working as a team on that, they transformed it. Now they're having tons of sex, and it's great. Like, it really is possible to go from what seems like permanently sexless into something that's fun and easy for both people. That's what I'm always trying to help people do. So we've got the pile of people where your relationship is so strained and so bad that sex isn't going to happen. Got to work on the relationship first. And you got a whole pile of people where sex has become difficult or stressful or fraught, and so someone is avoiding it. And that makes sense. And we can focus in and work together. I mean, you guys can focus in and work together and make this, get over those things if you know how to talk about them and how to address them, right? Then we've got the last pile of people where one of you is unwilling to do any of this work, where you or your partner have dug in your heels. You're not going to talk about it. You're not going to fix it. You're not going to address it. I am done with sex. I'm not going to do a thing about it. And we've got the other partner who's really, really unhappy with this. You wanted this to be part of your relationship together. You expected to be having sex till your dying days. And now your partner is refusing and is adamant about this, really not going to be willing to work on it with you. This is a tricky one, right? This is where you're going to have to make a choice. Now, I have had people in my world who choose to be okay with this, where the rest of the relationship is so good and they're so invested and they love their life together so much that they are willing to write off the sex with their partner and focus on masturbation or solo pleasure or something like that, and truly can choose that and be okay. So those relationships can thrive, can be okay, can survive. You could be happy. And then there are a lot of people who can't make that decision. And I can't blame you for that. There's no right or wrong here. There are people for whom sex is that important and enough of what they want in their life that this becomes a deal breaker. And in those kinds of situations, no, your sexless marriage cannot be happy because you can't get to a place where you can be happy with it. So, a lot of different ways to think about this. It's not really about how much sex is happening. It's about how you're each feeling. It's about your partnership in this, your alignment, your sense of emotional connection, your open communication about it. And again, exhausting, what I would invite you to do is exhaust every single option about how sex could be back in your relationship and could be fun and easy for both people, which is always my goal. And then having to make decisions if you can't get there once you've exhausted all those options.